Before I bring up Mr. Rahsaan Bahati, I have a few words to say about him. Rahsaan, as you guys know, founded the Bahati Foundation, 10-time US champion, lots of things going on with Rahsaan's life, and the Bahati Foundation started to give back to provide health and fitness gear, educational supplies and musical instruments to inner city youth while serving as a positive influence to our local youth. On a personal level, when I first met Rahsaan, more than 5-6 years ago, I thought, well, who is this guy, right? He's just like, he's got this aura about him, and everybody's just naturally gravitating towards Rahsaan. And as I got to know Rahsaan over the years, it's easy to see why he is who he is today, Rahsaan Bahati. One of the nicest guy I know, one of the most authentic person I know, and just an overall friend and colleague. Please welcome Rahsaan Bahati.
Scott Johnson, you left your notes up here, by the way. Just housekeeping. I'm gonna move these out of the way. Karan, Scott, Ruben, thanks for coming up and being keynotes and speaking. I don't know, I was asked to speak, and I've been doing some public speaking since May, like full time. And I really, when I'm asked to speak, I really don't know exactly what I'm gonna say, because my life honestly it's been crazy, but it's also been a complete blessing, and it all started at home. So I was born in the 80s in Compton, California. It is something to cheer about, but at that same time, it was very challenging growing up in that time. We had the LA riots, the drug epidemic was like huge. The war on drugs was huge, where people were dropping off drugs in our neighborhood. And at the time, of course, I didn't know all this, but I can just see the destruction that's happening in my neighborhood. And my mom and dad are here somewhere. Oh, there they are. Without them, you don't see me, and I won't get into how my parents moved to California, but everything happens for a reason, and they ended up in Manhattan Beach from Birmingham, Alabama somehow, and Manhattan Beach is a very desirable place to live, and I don't know why they ended up there with no money, but they did, and it was crazy. So we ended up in Compton. I have 5 sisters and a brother, and some of them are here. Shawnee, where you at? That's my thug. All right. We didn't have a big house. You're talking about 9 people, and as far as I can remember, maybe if we were lucky, we had 3 bedrooms. But for the most time, I think we had 2 bedrooms. There were even times where we lived in this little apartment, and it was 9 of us. And I was just excited to know that, well, not really excited. I was just happy to know that we always were fed. We had a roof over our head. I never had holes in my shoes. They didn't buy me a lot of shoes, which I'm still disappointed about. But I never went without. And so, sometimes they say you're a product of your environment. Growing up in Compton, I don't know what it was. I used to hang out with the thugs all the time, and I wasn't even trying to be a thug, but I used to just hang out with them. And I think my mom kind of noticed that I was going down this wrong path. So I tell this story all the time. Some of you may have heard this. Who have heard of the story of the boy who cried wolf? Right? It's like an international story. Well, I was the boy who cried wolf. My mom and my dad worked in the Compton Unified School District. I knew that I can get away with certain things, so I would just do whatever I wanted to do and be like, tell my mom, And my mom, she's got a strict hand. She don't play around. My dad never hit me. My mom, she'll f you up, I'm telling you. So, man, my parents used to drop me off, and I would kind of walk in school, but then walk out of school and do whatever all day long, running the streets in Compton. One day they dropped me off. I was like, you know what? I feel like learning today. I'm going to go to class. And I went to class, and because I lied so much to get out of class, when I told the teacher that I needed to get out of class to use the restroom, he thought I was lying. And the story is that I really had to use the restroom, but he didn't care. He was like, sit your little narrow behind down. You know, this is back in the day when your teachers could almost hit you. He didn't hit me. So in frustration, I took an eraser. For those of you that were born in the 70s and 80s, you know what that is. And I threw it at him, and it hit him dead in the face. And the entire class starts to laugh, and they're like, oh, it's so funny, because he had all these white marks on his face. And I remember just kind of blending in with the laughter and getting away with it. I went home, no one told on me. I was like, sweet, cool. But I actually did get snitched on. I don't know who she is, but she changed my life forever, because we had an intervention. And the intervention was bringing in my parents, and Mr. Garment introducing me to 2 sports. Keep in mind, this is like 91-ish, 90. He goes, there's an after-school program for golf, and there's an after-school program for bikes. Bikes sounded horrible, and golf was like, what? We don't do that. So they said bikes, and I said bikes it is, because at the time I thought he was talking about motorcycles and not bicycles. So I said, cool, I'm gonna go to Cal State Dominguez Hills. I know where that is. I used to ditch school to go up there and steal the sugar cane anyway, so I'm gonna go to Cal State Dominguez Hills and ride motorcycles. And I never forget my dad and I going to Cal State Dominguez Hills. By the way, we're gonna interview someone later named Nelson Bells, who won an Olympic medal there. But anyway, we go there, and we are at this top of this velodrome. I didn't know it was a velodrome. It was just this track. And I remember like yesterday, my dad standing next to me. We're both looking at this oval-looking thing that's a giant toilet bowl, basically. And it was all white guys in funny helmets and pointy shoes and wearing funny clothes. And I was like, ain't no way I'm doing that. I'm from Compton. We do not dress like that. And as far as I can remember, the fear that I had, because this was a form of punishment. It wasn't meant to be fun. And so long story short, I did it, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of fun. I get to meet people that didn't look like me, and like it was cool to think like someone was coming from 2 hours away, like Temecula, to come ride this track. You start to learn a little bit, boom, it's over, right? The season's over, and my dad says, all right, the season's back on. And I said, I don't want to do that. I thought it was just for punishment. He's like, no, I spent $75 on your cycling kit. You're going back. Little did he know cycling was going to cost a lot more than $75. But yeah, I went back, and like just things changed. Here's a side story. I was so embarrassed by cycling for a long time. We moved to Carson. I was going to this school called Curtis Middle School, and I kept getting in trouble all the time. It was like the most frivolous things. And one of them that happened like 3 or 4 times is that I had a backpack, but also a duffel bag. My duffel bag had a helmet in it. It had shorts that had the stupid pad that no one understood. It had pointy shoes with little things on the bottom. So no, I couldn't speak this language to anyone, right? And so the security, because we had security at our school, were like, I need to look in your bag. And I was like, you're not looking in my bag. Because I was embarrassed. Like, I can't show you what's in here. And so I got suspended from school like 3 or 4 times because I was like, no, you can't look at my bag. Send me to the office. You cannot look. Fast forwarding, I started racing. And I did an event called the Match Sprints. I'm only about 100 and, I don't know, maybe even 90 pounds at this time. And I was 13 years old, and they put me up against this kid who was 18. And a match sprint on the track is a cat and mouse game, and you'll learn a little bit more about that later. And I wasn't that fast, but I was way smarter than him. So as we're going into the bell lap, keep in mind we're on this big oval track, and this guy's name is Mike something. But he was already a national champion, 18 years old, big old legs. And I'm behind him, and he kept doing this, like for 2 laps. And in my head, I go, the next time, if he do this on bell lap in turn 2, as soon as he turned his head back, I'm gonna dip down the track. He's not even gonna know what hit him. Sure enough, he did it. And by the time he turned, I went down the track. By the time he turned again, he didn't see me. I was already 100 meters up the track. So the coaches went crazy, right? Coaches went crazy, and they wanted to figure out how I could go to nationals in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was that year. So I went home, talked to my parents. They got 7 miles to feed. They was like, how you getting there? And I was like, you gonna pay? They was like, no, we not. So this is where the community comes in. There's some people in the community here, like Dave Pulliam and others, Major Motion, Major Taylor, they literally came together, raised money, and got me to nationals. That was important. That was a big turn in my life. And it was at that point that I got hooked on cycling because I met one of my really good friends, Steven Salazar, because when I got matched up against another guy, and they said from Hollywood, California, Steven Salazar, and from Compton, California, Rahsaan Bahati. And I was like, there's someone from California here? Everyone was from everywhere except California. We didn't have a lot of track cyclists. So the guys I went with, they all won gold medals. And when you win a gold medal at nationals, you get a national championship jersey, you get a gold medal, but we're in Wisconsin, they gave you a cheese head. Packers suck, but I was gonna take the cheese head anyway. Let's go Cowboys. So I'm getting the red thing right here, so I got a couple more minutes. So I'm gonna fast forward. So I was so excited to go back. I didn't win, I got 2 silver and 2 bronze. And I remember going back to the hotel and using a little +9 or whatever to call home and go, I gotta go to nationals again in Wisconsin because I gotta win a cheesehead. I didn't even want the gold medal. I didn't care. The cheesehead was like the coolest thing as a 14-year-old. And so I trained hard. I got new equipment. I'm ready for nationals, and nationals went to Cincinnati the next year. So I never got a cheesehead. However, I did win 10 national titles after that, so I was pretty happy. The reason I told you this story is because it's something that we've been adapting at the foundation called Play Equity, and it's really about giving children the opportunity to be children. I have children of my own. My wife and I are raising 3 kids. We have one in college already. She's a runner, and it's hard in today's world to get kids to stay active. So the words of motion equals healthy. Just think about that. Motion definitely does equals healthy. And so for QRT, KRT, and all the other clubs that are here, Velo Club Lagrange, Major Motion, Major Taylor, everyone, it's your responsibility to make sure you talk to the youth because they have a longer shelf life than us. They're gonna be here longer than us, God willing. And so if we don't help them get healthy, stay healthy, we're gonna be in a deficit. Scott had all these numbers and stuff, which is crazy, right, to think about. When I got into the sport and had my cycling license, there were over 100,000 USA cycling licenses out there. Now, I think you said 30,000? That's crazy. That's not acceptable. And a lot of this has to do with USA Cycling. Sorry, we have to point where it starts from. They got rid of dealing with clubs. Clubs is the heart of everything. Without the club, I don't go to Kenosha. If I don't go to Kenosha, I'm not standing here. That's just how it is. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks so much for your time. This is a great event. Kenneth Vincent, I appreciate you. And have a good night.
Wow, after hearing those childhood stories from Rahsaan, I don't know what it would be like to be a kid of his. Thank you very much, Rahsaan.